Good afternoon, good evening. This is Ian Cooper with another episode of Cooper's Cogitations. We're still dealing with schools. So I like to read to you a statement from President Joseph F. Smith, reiterated by a number of other prophets. Three dangers to the church would be immorality, praise of the prominent men of the world, and false educational ideas. I've considered 5 of these educational ideas to be false. A, purpose. B, financing. C, system. T, teaching methods. And E, curriculum. You'll remember from Schools-1 that the Lord told us to home educate our children and to teach them basic academics, or as much as they wanted, but also to teach them how to be responsible, how to be adults, how to have initiative by going with the adults and seeing what the adults do. The Israelites had this home education system until they went to Babylon. Once they got to Babylon, they saw the Babylonian schools. And many of them adopted these Babylonian schools. Jesus did not. He was home educated. That's why they said often, hey, how can this man know these things? He's not learned. Because he didn't go to their schools, where you could be programmed to think like you're supposed to think. So let's look at purpose. What's the purpose of education? What do you think the purpose of education is? I know what we're told. Go to school to get a good job and get a good education, get a good job. I was told that today. I'm going to go to college so that I can make a lot of money. I was just told that today by another individual. So many of them have told me that. Well, isn't that interesting? In fact, School to Career was a program coming out of the national government that helps people track their career and decide their career early so that they can be good at it. Europe has a program. I was told by a friend of mine who lived in Europe, France. He says, you go to school to grade 8. Then if you pass the test, you can go to high school. And if you pass the test, you can go to college. And if you don't pass the test, you never get another opportunity. Isn't that special? True government involvement in schools. I finished 9th grade. I never finished anything else. After I joined the church, I decided I had to go to college. So I went to college because I had to go to college to have my career that I wanted. Okay? So many, perhaps even most, careers are tied to schooling. They want you to think a certain way. And maybe you get out, you can do some other thinking and researching based on what they tell you. The purpose of education, I will read to you. This is David O. McKay, prophet of the church. Character is the true sum of education. True education seeks to make men and women not only good mathematicians, proficient linguists, profound scientists, or brilliant literary lights, but also honest men with virtue, temperance, and brotherly love. It seeks to make men and women who prize truth, justice, wisdom, benevolence, and self-control as the choicest acquisitions of a successful life. Self-control. Wow. When I was in school at BYU in January of 73, William Glasser's School Without Failure was big. Open schools, schools without failure. Because like I know, failure hurts children. And our professor taught us that, and many of the students in the class believed it. And when I went to teach, I saw it all over the schools. They would just pass kids. They didn't have to learn anything or do anything. They just passed them. They didn't want to hurt them. And so you had people graduating with, in my school district down in LA, an individual graduated from high school with C's, but because he was functionally illiterate, he couldn't read. His parents sued the school district because they didn't see anything. Teachers saw it, but they just passed him. Yes. Now, part of self-control is solving your emotional problems. If there's physically something wrong with you, as a medical examination determines, okay. Yeah, President McKay said self-control is in bridle all your passions. We are supposed to control ourselves, not give that up, that control to recreational chemical substances or to psychological applications of a psychiatrist. Look at Solving Emotional Problems the Lord's Way, Boyd K. Packer. Also, Do Not Despair, President of the 12, Ezra Taft Benson. Now, what do I do know? I do know that in 1953, later on, President McKay and other apostles asked us to read The Naked Communist. In the process of reading The Naked Communist, you will find goals of the communists, 45 agenda goals of the communists. One of these goals, two of these goals, dealt with infiltrating and controlling the psychiatric and psychological associations and treating all problems as psychological problems, and only a psychologist can understand them and care for them. Okay? Psychiatric disorders which no one but psychiatrists can understand. So since these guys have taken over, and since the schools have gone to schools about failure and Common Core and SAGE testing, look at our students. Look at how emotionally fragile they are. Look at our adults that grow up in this system, how emotionally fragile they are. They can't discuss differing points of opinion. They get loud and rant and rave and la-di-da-di-da-di. Folks, this is not an accident. This was planned. It's been planned since Stalin in the 30s. So I searched a long time to get my wife. We had children. I never could understand why anyone who searched for their spouse and finally found one would take their children at the most vulnerable, teachable age and turn them over to strangers. Strangers in a controlled setting so that children could never discover themselves. Seems like child abuse to me. Let me pursue this a little further. Yeah, a returned health missionary told me, this is 2 years ago, 10 of the 11 missionaries in his last batch of missionaries were all on some kind of mood-altering drug, psychological drug. This week, I spoke Monday. This is Wednesday, but Monday I spoke with a woman who worked in the crisis center out here in Hurricane, Utah, and she tells me, do something about the return missionaries who are on all kinds of drugs, psychologically manipulating drugs. Folks, the best way to solve your psychological problems is to keep the commandments of God and seriously have a relationship with him. He will heal you. He healed me. I was a shipwreck. I was I was on the other side of rational, logical good. And God healed me. And my basic thought is he can heal me. He can heal anybody. That's it for now. Thank you very much. And we'll continue later.